just keep your eyes open and your heart open and your spirit open and kind of move forward. And as you're going about, the motions in your journey, things will open up to you and you have to realize that and grab it.
So you want to make an impact. You're thinking about starting a business, sharing your voice. How do women do it that handle motherhood, family, and still chase after those dreams? Well, listen each week as we dive into the stories of women who know. This is Call Me CEO. Welcome back, everyone, to Call Me CEO. This is Camille Walker, your host of Call Me CEO, here where we celebrate mothers building businesses and what they overcome and how they figure out how to make their dreams happen. And I am so thrilled that we have Stephanie Painter on the line with us today. Hey, Steph.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, thank you for being here. She is the co-owner and co-founder of the organic line Painterland Sisters, which is in 49 states now, and it is lactose-free yogurt, and it is phenomenal. It is packed with protein. I had some this morning that I absolutely loved, and it is taking the yogurt land by storm, so to speak, because it's really about farm to table. Where is your food coming from? What are the sources? And I love that it's revolutionizing that, because so many, I know, especially for my kids, they think food comes from the grocery store and products come from the Amazon truck. And so I love that this is really like coming back to the root of farming and good organic nutrition. So I'm so thrilled to have you on here and to mention your sister, Hayley, who is your co-owner and co-founder. She's not with us today, but thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yes, great intro. Thank you.
I
feel like we don't even have to go through it. You just nailed all of it.
Hey, that's passion. That came straight from my heart. Okay.
Oh, good job.
Thank you. Yeah. So please tell us, where do you live? A background about who you are, this business. Where did it all come about?
Yeah. So I'm originally from northern Pennsylvania, Tioga County, Westfield to be specific, where I grew up with more cows than people in my town. And so my sister, she's 27, I'm 29. We've always known that we wanted to do something with our family farm. We grew up barefoot, running around in the fields, on the dirt roads. Ouch, literally like barefoot. But, we grew up on a farm. We're farm girls. And we always had that in our hearts. And we saw our parents working, our grandparents working, our uncles, our aunts, our cousins, everyone was working together. And that inspired us to want to continue their work, and really show people how special this place was and show people how special farmers are and why they're so important for our everyday lives. Every single person should thank a farmer every time they eat, because that's where our food comes from. And like we were just mentioning, like our food doesn't come from a grocery store originally. It starts with the soil. And so anyways, my sister and I we're so excited. We have an organic regenerative dairy farm in northern Pennsylvania. I currently live in southern Pennsylvania about 60% of the time with my 6-year-old stepdaughter. I have a 2-year-old daughter and a 3-month-old baby boy, Savannah, Meadow, and Wilder. As you can see, I'm really connected to the farm. I got all my natural nature names, but yeah, so we're really excited. I live at the farm part of the time. My sister lives there full time. We're able to connect to consumers in a different way, because we can literally go outside and take pictures of our cows, which is where the milk that is put into our yogurt comes from. So we show people not only, that we have a great product, that we're not adding all this funky stuff and fillers into it, but really like the source of their food. So.
Yeah. That's so inspiring. I love that it's a generational history, that it's something that has been built before you and something that you want to continue. And I think that more than ever, especially during the pandemic, which I know I want to talk about that because a lot of that was born possibly during that time, is that we really were brought to the surface of what we rely on in our day-to-day living and where our food is coming from. And when the stores were empty and the shelves were bare, it came to, at least I know for me, there seemed to be a collective panic of like, oh no, what are we going to do? Is this the end of times? Like, how do we even manage this? And I think it became much more of an awareness of really the infrastructure we have around us and how we're living our lives and what we're consuming. What can you tell me about what it was in the year 2020 that changed in your life and how that gave root to this new business?
Oh, yeah. So we always knew we were going to start a business utilizing the plentiful resources from our family farm, and we just didn't know what. And I traveled to 20-something countries, almost all 50 states. My sister has traveled just to get ideas of what that could possibly be. I'm pretty like, hey, if it's meant for me, it'll cross my path and I just have to open my eyes and grab it. And so I'm like, just did that. Anyways, as soon as the pandemic hit, we had honestly a problem with selling our family farm's milk to the co-op. They said, hey, like we're gonna close the co-op, and then we're not gonna have a place for your milk. And we have had these cows, these same cows my grandpa bought, way back when, raised, and then their offsprings and their offsprings. Like, this line has been in our family forever. And so my sister and I are like, hey, we have to start taking our destiny in our own hands. This obviously means that we have to do something with our milk. Like, this is what it is, and this is happening now. We always knew we were going to come back, but we didn't know when, what, or where. And so now we had this tangible thing, this North Star. And so we're like, we have to do something with the milk. And we called around to a bunch of places to figure out where we could sell the milk, and no one was buying milk because there was no place to process the milk because of everything that was going on. It wasn't that the farmers didn't have the food. It was that there was not, these big processing centers were shut down because the workers couldn't be together, And so all these raw materials, all this food was just, some people were burying it. Some people were just putting it, basically in big digesters. And I don't think some people knew that. Like, there wasn't a lack of food. There was a lack of processing for the food. And so anyways.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that. But that makes sense, because if the manufacturing or the emulsification and all of this, creating the product, if that's not operating, then yeah, how is it getting done? That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And the truck drivers that, even the cold storage facilities that are holding the final product to get to the distributors, it's all about the people. Our what you mentioned before, our food chain is so long. It takes so many steps to get our food from the farmer to the table. And we really noticed that during COVID, because every single step of the way, things were shut down. And so what's really cool about our yogurt and, what we've accomplished, but what we really want people to understand is that there's really good food right around the corner from you. You just kind of have to look for it. But people don't understand that, because only 2% of the United States population is they're ranchers and farmers, only 2%. So of course, me being from a farm, I'm like, hey, just go up the road. But we're so used to going to the grocery store. Even me, I have 3 kids, it's hard for me to go down a dirt road 2 miles and then take a left and then get my milk. It's so much easier for me to Instacart my milk if I need it. And so what we're able to do with Painterland Sisters is, one, utilize our family farm's milk so that we can be in control of our destiny and our family's destiny. But also we're able to we have a short supply chain. Our milk, our cows, our farm is from northern Pennsylvania. We are manufacturing the product in central Pennsylvania. We're storing the product in southern Pennsylvania and then distributing it all over the country from there. And so we're able to keep that map pretty short when it comes from the raw material to the final product and distribution. And that's able to go on we're in over 2,000 stores nationwide. So you can go on Instacart and still get a product right from a farmer. And that's what really makes Painterland Sisters special, because we are the farmer. And that doesn't happen with a lot of consumer product goods. People are just disconnected from our food.
Wow, that's incredible. How were you able to find? I mean, you're in this situation where you don't have the resources to be able to send the product where it needs to go. How did you facilitate connecting all of those pieces so that it was so close and you were able to do that?
Well, like I said, I've always led, and my sister as well, just keep your eyes open and your heart open and your spirit open and kind of move forward. And as you're going about, the motions in your journey, things will open up to you, and you have to realize that and grab it. So we started with calling people, anybody that we knew that had any inclination of what to do with milk. You know what I mean? And we just asked, hey, what are your ideas? What do you think could be done? Hey, you have a yogurt company. We didn't even start off with yogurt. You have cheese. You have a processing facility on your farm. Like what can you do? So we started with after a lot of phone calls, we got to the center of dairy excellence in Pennsylvania. We really tapped into our agriculture community, and they basically, we applied for a grant. We received our first grant in 2019 or 2020. I'm not sure, something around there. I think 2020. And anyways, we got our first grant, and then we hired a consultant agency named Kitchen Table Consultants. They help farmers basically bring their food to the consumer. And we thought we were going to have like a little farm store. Like, we're like, we want a little farm store. We want to be able to ship some of our milk, ship different products. We're thinking cheese, raw milk, just different things. Like, what can we do? So we started there. We built a business plan for about a year. And then we hired an architect. We built a manufacturing facility, like with the architect, went and toured tons of different farms and manufacturers for like this, basically to turn raw milk into a finished product. Anyways, when we finally were about to go to the bank and basically, present our findings, ask for a loan. Sorry, I have a cold. I have 3 kids, like I said.
And it's right after Christmas that we're filming this. So
yeah, the ones in first grade.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
She brings home all the sicknesses. Anyways, so sorry about that. So what was I going to say? So we hit the end of our business plan, 100 and some pages, with the Kitchen Table Consultants that we got the grant from the Dairy Center of Excellence. And we were like, oh my gosh, like, if we process, we have about 1,000 cows on our farm, and we milk roughly 400 twice a day. And that's a lot of milk. And so we're like, if we process this, we built this $8 million facility, how do we know that we're actually going to be able to sell this product? And it just dawned on us, like, at that moment when we were about to present, we just worked like a year on this, a year and a half. And we were like, oh, we have 2 companies. We have a manufacturing facility, and we have a CPG company, a brand, Painterland Sisters. We don't have just one. And so then somebody told us about co-packers. And so we totally shifted, and we were like, oh my gosh, we can hire somebody, look around for somebody that we can truck our raw milk down to, and they have the know-how. We make the recipe, and basically we come out with a final product. So we were like, okay. So anyways, a lot of different calls, again, just calling people. Hey, do you know anybody that does this? We found a great co-packer in the middle of Pennsylvania. He's a 10th generation Icelandic skyr producer. We had, really, like, we've never really heard skyr. This was kind of before it started becoming popular, but we're like, this is great. Like, the heritage and the quality of this dairy product is just premium. There's no fillers. The process through ultrafiltration leaves a very high protein naturally. So a lot of different yogurts, they add protein powder into their yogurt, leaving it gritty. And it's this foreign entity that's in something that was, if you do it the right way, is just good and pure and nutrient dense naturally. And so we're like, this is great. So we then hired a food scientist because we didn't know how to develop a yogurt recipe, right? And so we essentially built a really good team that could help us get through this by just asking and being open and, having the humility to say, I don't know, but I want to know. can you help me?
Oh, that is so powerful. I don't know, but I want to know, and asking for people to help you. I think that
Mhm.
that could be the brand on a shirt for any entrepreneur. I don't know, but I want to know, because it's that gumption that gets you the results, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
we're looking for these pieces and it's going to take time, but it's going to be so worth it. And I can tell you from eating the yogurt this morning, it was shipped to me, I think about 4 or 5 days ago. I need to know where to find it locally, because it was just this morning that I ate it for the first time. And it was so creamy and incredibly tasting. I had the blueberry lemon, which I mentioned before that I had never had a flavor like that. So I said, I want to do something or eat something that I normally wouldn't have had. And
Mhm.
it was so good. And where you're talking about the creaminess, I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm like salivating thinking about it right
Yeah,
now.
heck yeah,
But I'm
that's
like
exactly what
thinking
we
about,
want.
yes, other brands where maybe there aren't as many calories, but they do put the protein in after. And there's a quality difference, there's a taste difference. And man, it is worth it. It is worth the calories, because you can
Yes.
just taste the difference. And it really does taste so different. We actually stayed at a little small dairy farm Airbnb. Their parents owned a dairy farm. And in the guest fridge, there was, please enjoy our yogurt on us. And it
Mhm.
was a yogurt that came straight from the dairy farm. And it was that same thick, creamy, naturally occurring protein that you're talking about. And I was like, this is insane. Like, it just
Mhm. That's real
tasted
food.
so different. It was real. Like, it just
Yeah.
tasted so real. So,
Yes.
number one, where
Mhm.
do we find, what stores are we finding your yogurt in? That's my first question.
So we launched in March of 2022, like
Yeah.
into retail. And
Okay.
since then we're now in 2000 stores nationwide. Some of the bigger stores are Sprouts, Natural Grocers. We're in the Whole Foods in the Mid-Atlantic section, Pennsylvania, Virginia, New Jersey, and we are in Kimberton Whole Foods, Mom's Organics. We're in King's Balducci's, DiAgostino's in New York. We worked with NCG and National Co-op Grocers to get to like all the independent natural stores, because that's where we don't necessarily have to explain the quality of our yogurt. Like they
It's
have
already
more of an,
vetted. Yeah.
yeah, they have an eye for, for like natural premium, like what real food is. And that's what we're really trying to educate people on, the difference. Like you just said, oh my gosh, like what's the difference is knowing the source of the raw ingredients, like whatever materials you put into, when you're cooking, if you have better ingredients, the outcome's going to be better. And that's, we have a good milk source from our family farm and other family farms. So it's good for you and it's real food. So those are some of where are you located?
Utah.
Utah. Okay. See, I would tell you a lot better like 3 months ago, but I just have such mommy brain right now.
No, you're fine. I can Google this. I can figure it out. And what's really, yeah, no, we can figure that out, and we'll link to it in the show notes below so people can find it. But that is what's so cool about this is, hello, you launched last year. Like, this is literally, it's a baby, and you've
Yeah, it
grown.
is a
So
baby.
it's grown so much. In fact, I just saw this morning that you reached 900,000 in investments today,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
is
just
huge.
yeah. So, okay, I'm going to back up one. Go to our store locator on our
Okay.
website and put in
Store
your zip
locator.
code. Put
Perfect.
in
We'll
our
put a
zip code.
link.
Yes, that would be perfect. You can find a store near you, and and then the other thing is we thought like we were gonna have a little farm stand, right? Like we were like, oh, wouldn't that be awesome if we could ship yogurts, in Pennsylvania, have a little farm stand, do everything from our family farm. And now we're in these 2000 stores working with national distribution companies for natural foods and these big retailers. Like it's amazing. And it took a lot to figure out how to do that. But what was your question again?
I think you answered it. The first
Yeah.
question was, where do we find it? And then
Yes.
following up with that, I know one of the number one things that just from doing this podcast now for 3 years, has it been 3 years? I launched at the end of 2020. Yeah, it's been 3 years. That's
Isn't that
crazy.
crazy?
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you. That's really crazy.
Rock star.
Yeah. Well, my favorite part is hearing people's stories and what motivated them and how they found the gumption to do it. And female funding is difficult. That's one of the number one things that I hear. I just went to the Entrepreneur of the Year event in Palm Springs just last month in November. And one of the number one thing was female founded and getting funding for a big company like this. What would be some advice that you would give to female founders that are listening to this and wondering how they too can find success in that?
Yeah, definitely. That's been very interesting for us. And so we are a certified women-owned business through WBNC, and that's been great network. And the other, it's really about, again, just not being, I guess, discouraged by the statistics. You know, like, okay, well, why would you start a yogurt company? You know, we don't need any more yogurt on this planet. Like, you know, there's already brands that are doing that, people that are doing that. And, you know, we had an open heart, and we just continued to view our North Star and go from there and believe that we would figure it out. And I think it's the belief that if it's for you, it'll come to you, and continue to press down on that. And, you know, we have a great team that's really helped us basically have the deliverables that are needed to close some of those big investment deals. So of course, like, you know, we have a WeFunder. We want to be in control of our company because we have a mission that's tied so closely to the future of our family's farm, but to other family farms that can do something similar. We don't just have our milk in it, but we have other people's farms right in our local area, and to give the consumer something they can get off the shelf that's from a farmer. So we don't want that mission to be deterred because maybe it's cheaper to produce a cheaper yogurt. We don't have a cheaper yogurt. We have a real premium yogurt, and we feel like we need to have that on shelf. And so we've passed up on some opportunities that would have been probably easier, but we went with WeFunder, a crowdfunding campaign, because we believe in our community and our community believes in us. And so they have our backs, we have theirs. It's about really having that openness about what we're doing, and people are looking for a transparent company, and people are looking in. We've gotten told a lot. Yes, of course we need the deliverables. We need to have the numbers. So we hired a real good numbers guy, you know what I mean? And we laid that all out, and we can give that. But really what it comes down to when somebody presses confirm on an investment, it's about believing in the founders and the people that are running the company. And so that's what we've gotten a lot of. Like, yes, you know, everything looks great when it comes to your projections, but I believe in you. I believe in you and your sister. And so you know, if you have a good mission and you just network and tap into your community, you'll find it there.
I love it. One thing that we talked about before the call started was being a busy mom. I mean, we're talking and listening, we're sharing these stories with people who are balancing a lot, as are you. You just had your third baby 3 months ago. She said that this is the first podcast she's done since having the baby. So thank you. I really appreciate that. And how have you been able to navigate the waters of self-doubt and overcoming negativity?
So just having an open heart and realizing that if something doesn't go the way that I thought it would, which happens a lot with owning a business, you have to pivot constantly. And when one door shuts or you feel like you're in a hole, like, don't dwell on it, because you're just going to go deeper into that hole. Like, you can figure out ways. How do I get out of this hole? How do I open this door? How do I look for, you know, this wasn't meant for me, so what am I supposed to do next? And look around and you'll find it. But when you put energy into the thing that's restricting you, that's what it will be. If you put energy in moving forward, that's what it will be. And so it's just constantly about putting energy to the things that you can move forward on. And really, my sister and I are certified yoga teachers as well, even though we put that on the back burner. We did have a yoga and yogurt event this summer. That was like
Oh,
another side dream, that we'll get to. But anyways, it's really about like, hey, I need to leave my phone as a mom. I owe it to my kids I could constantly be working, constantly. I'm sure you know that. Like, I could constantly be doing something on my phone to better my business. And what I've learned is that I have to literally put my phone away physically and be in the present moment with my kids. And that's been really important for me to balance the mom work life because literally when we launched, I would birthed my baby and my business in the same year, really. In 2021 is when we had the business plan, launch, presented to the bank to get our first loan, that kind of thing. And then, yeah, my baby boy Wilder was born 3 months ago, right as we're scaling up so quickly, it feels like we're just holding on our pants all the time. So, and building a great team. Like we would not be able to continue to level up without having people on our team that we can trust that just rock and roll like in their special areas. We have a great director of operations now. We just hired a director of sales, but we hired originally a VP of sales. We hired a lot of consultants to begin with and contractors because we weren't sure. Again, we didn't know, but we wanted to know. So we hired people who did know, and they helped us get to where we are presently. And so we didn't know how to enter the retail market on a national level or even just a local level. So we hired somebody to help us do that. We paid, my grandma calls like mistakes a tuition expense. And so, yes, we've paid our fair share of tuition expenses, but we also paid for professionals to help us to get where we are, so that we didn't to pay a bigger percentage of tuition expenses just from failing and failing and failing. We wanted to figure out how to do this the right way. So we built a great team.
I love that you call them tuition expenses. And tell me about your grandma, because this sounds like an incredible woman. Obviously, she's been doing entrepreneurial life for a long time. What have you learned from her?
Oh my goodness. I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about my grandma. But so in 1941, the farm started essentially. Like we bought our first land. The painters bought the first land, and that's why it's called Painterland. It's like literally the land of the painters up there. Like all my cousins and uncles and everyone, they're living on top of the hill. But anyways, my grandma, her and my grandpa really flourished the farm to what it is today. So we have about a 5,000 acre organic dairy and crop farm, 1,000 cows. We have crops. We have a little bit of everything. My grandpa was constantly finding innovative, creative ways to just try things. And so obviously we got a lot of that from him. My grandma would make those ideas happen and make sure she was facilitating all of the books and making sure she was working with the banks, and she just did it, and I think that's something very important we learned from my grandma is, there was just no excuse. She just did it. And that's what we do. We just got to do it. And, we grew up mucking stalls and milking cows. And like, if you didn't milk cows, like the cows would hurt. They'd be in pain. There was no choice not to milk the cows because you didn't feel good that morning. You woke up and you milked the cows, And so you just that do it and get it done attitude, but always with a sense of just pride, humbleness, and positivity. Like she's a very positive person. And so listening to, like, we'll figure this out. I know we will. And she always has a pie and a cup of coffee waiting for everybody. So like making it fun and being real. Like it's not all about work. It's about love and family. And that is what a family farm is. So we learned a lot from that. And that's what we try to instill in our own business. Like, hey, like, yeah, this is work, but it's also like, we're doing something so cool here. Like, and we're working with people that are great. And, my sister and I work together. That's really amazing to be able to do something every day with your, family members. So yeah.
Oh, I want to meet this woman. I can just tell from the way you're talking about her. I feel like my mom grew up on a ranch. There was always so much work to be done. And I feel like that is something that is lacking from the generation of my own or even my children where there isn't that sense of urgency as much to get this work done, like physical labor, where
Mhm.
they're dependent upon you and it
Mhm.
has to get done. And that
Mhm.
sense of pride that comes with
Yes,
that.
pride. Exactly. I think that is
Yes.
what missing. It's like pride for your work,
Hmm.
pride for your family, pride for your heritage, pride for, the health of your animals, just pride in your, and then you feel growing up and having the pride for everything else, it instills a sense of pride in yourself and thus like a sense of confidence in your abilities, right? Like, hey, I have no idea. Like my dad put me on, you know, tons of farm machinery when I was, 16 on, and it was like, hey, I don't know how to drive this. And he's like, you'll figure it out. I'm like, okay.
Mm.
And so, just having like the sense of, just trusting yourself and leading with that sense of pride that's instilled with you because you work, because you can do it. And I really try to, my kids, we're not like on the farm. I didn't want to milk cows for the rest of my life. And that's why my sister and I, are helping with the farm in our own way. Like I'm primarily on my computer getting stuff done, and that's totally different than how we grew up. But my kids, they don't have to work. We had to feed calves. We had to muck stalls. We had to stack firewood. We had to milk cows in the cold, in the hot heat. It did not matter. We had to pick rocks out of fields. But I try to include them in the physical labor that I'm doing, like even if it's cooking dinner, even if it's doing laundry, even if it's doing, like when we're at the farm, just including them to be included so they feel a sense of one, teamwork. Like that's so important. Teamwork, family, like what a family can do together to get something done, and just pride in themselves. Like my little girl, she broke up. We were making cookies the other day, and I was like, hey, do you want to crack these eggs? And she's like, I don't know how to crack eggs. I'm like, just try, you can figure it out. And she tried and she was so proud of herself. And
Mm.
then we made a mess, and then she went and cleaned it up, and she was so proud that she cleaned it up. And like that shows kids that I can do it, and I can be a help, and I'm important, and I'm not just here, to kind of chill. Like I am an important integral piece of this family that is part of the collective. And that's really what I'm trying to instill, even if I don't have a cow for them to milk.
That's you
So,
went into the exact question I was going to ask because
yeah.
I was thinking that exactly. You're not on a farm, which most of us listening are not. I mean, that's
Mhm.
2%. But I love that you're looking at ways to instill the sense of pride in work and also to not be afraid to try new things. I think that sometimes I've done this before where I think, oh, I can do it more quickly on my own, or they'll make a mess if I do this or that. And it's interesting when you give your kids permission to make mistakes as they're learning and what an effective life lesson that is. I actually did recently. I watched a tutorial on how to properly clean a toilet. I know this is like
Mhm.
so bizarre, but we're all moms
No,
here. So
it's
this is
not. Yeah,
not,
I
it's
get
not,
it. I
we're
get
all on toilets.
it.
So I watched this tutorial. I found the exact products that they were using, and it's like a 5-step situation with different brushes and wipes and reusable wands and all the things.
All the
And I
things,
went
yeah.
through and did a step-by-step tutorial with all of my kids, and we have 4 bathrooms in the house, and they're responsible for one of those toilets, and we call it a toilet soak that we do once a week. I'm not perfect at doing this,
Yeah.
but what I found really interesting is that my 7-year-old was thrilled to learn the proper steps. And I have found now that I have teenagers, my older ones are, I have a 10, 13, 15-year-old, and my youngest is 7. And what's interesting is younger kids generally have a more innate sense of wanting to be involved and helping. And it's exciting because it's new to them, where then you get the teenager and they're like, oh, I don't want to do this. It becomes,
Mm-hmm.
it's a chore to them. Where for
Mm-hmm.
the younger kids, it's more exciting. But what was really cool is that my 7-year-old then taught my 15-year-old because he was gone when I was doing it for my other 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been so important to me too that my children, I have 3 sons, 1 daughter, that the work in the home is a shared responsibility because you are a person that lives there and uses it. And I love that you're saying that too, that there's
Mhm.
work to be done in a home, whether it's the cooking or the cleaning, or
Mhm.
we make a mess, we clean it up.
Mhm.
But it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay that the egg breaks and that you get shell in it or whatever, or that you put the toilet together wrong or whatever the things are.
Yeah.
I just love that you have that instilled in you and that you'll figure it out, because I think sometimes we can take life too seriously, that
So
we want it to
serious.
be, yeah, where it's like,
Yeah.
it has to be perfect or not done at all. And I think that that's the mentality that's really hurting our kids of today, is the fear of mistakes and failure and needing to be perfect. And I love that your approach is so opposite of that.
Exactly. You nailed it. Like, and your 7-year-old is that your daughter?
My son, actually.
That's your
Yeah.
son? Yeah. So
Mhm.
he had, now this like sense of like pride, and that's what you do. You
Mhm.
teach. When you learn something, you teach someone else, right? And you're proud of yourself. And so, that's what that then increases basically the collective of your team, which, in that sense is your family. And it's so important. Like, we're never ever going to do everything perfect. And like, yes, it takes at least twice as long, if not 3 times as long, to cook with my kids. Um, but the thing is, now I'm teaching them a valuable skill. We're really teaching them to be the people that we know that they can be. And we have to believe in them first for them to believe in themselves. And it's just been really interesting. And of course, every single step of, as you know, raising a child is so different. And I've evolved now, having my, third kid to raise. It's different. I've noticed, since raising the first one to my third one, like, I've learned things, right? And that's what we all have. Like, even as a parents, like, we make mistakes and we have to say, okay, I'm not going to handle that situation like that next time. I'm going to handle it in a different way, because that wasn't the outcome that I, think was needed. And so, like, if we aren't perfect and we have to try and make mistakes as parents to be better parents, like, we can't expect our kids to be perfect at everything and leave them out of things. Like, it's so important for us to teach them to teach them skills and to teach them how to, when I think that's what one of the best things that growing up on the farm taught me. Like, we were always like at the kitchen table when my grandpa, my grandma, they would have business, they would have attorneys coming, and then they would have somebody up the road that's, selling some sort of like garlic or something like that. It didn't matter, like, if the person had $1 million in their pocket or $1 in their pockets. Like, learning how us watching them deal with people in all ways and walks of life was a huge lesson. And if they told us, hey, why don't you go in the other room while I have an official business meeting, then we would have never been able to see that. And that's really, like, I went to school for business, but that is not where I learned business. I learned business at my grandma and grandpa's kitchen table while they were conducting it. And, as you mentioned, you're like, hey, this is a really like relaxed podcast. Like, we're just conversational. Well, that's how my sister and I do business. And that's how my grandpa and grandma did business. And that's how my dad does business, and my mom. It's not, it doesn't have to be what everyone thinks it is in the movies. Like, we're just sitting here, we're trying to sell some yogurt, we're trying to save our family farm, we're trying to raise good kids. Like, we don't have to be what everyone thinks a business person looks like. We're walking into these meetings when everyone else is in black and blue suits with cowboy boots on and flowy dresses, and I'm going to nurse a baby in 20 minutes. Like, everything is, just us. Like, we're just being authentic. We just want to have an authentic yogurt. I think that's really important. Like, you don't have to be like everyone else, because we're not. We're just ourselves, and we have to, you know, exemplify that, I guess, in every move we make. I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, I love it. I feel like you and I are fast friends. Like, I just think that
Yeah.
this has been such a fun conversation. And one question that I want to ask before, because I always love to hear the answer to this, especially if there's a team involved or a partnership. What are some ways that you were able to help navigate? And from what you've said so far, it seems like it's a pretty cut and clear, like, operations and, behind the scenes and right in the middle of it, so to speak. But how did you and your sister divide and conquer and define your roles?
Oh my goodness, it was not cut and clear. Like,
Okay, good. Let's talk about that.
yeah.
How did you figure it out?
No, I mean, we went, from like being just sisters to being
Mhm.
co-CEOs of now a national yogurt company
Crazy.
that,
Yeah.
we just hit over $4 million in revenue this week. Four
Oh my
million
gosh.
yogurt, over four, well, it is like 3.5 million yogurts sold, which is insane because how
Wow.
do we go from like, stealing each other's shirts when we're 15 to, figuring out how to do this? And we were really with each other every single step out of the way. We didn't give up on each other, even when, we have high emotions. And we really tried to say, hey, like, take a deep breath and say, hey, like, we didn't handle that the best way. Like,
Mm.
what can we do differently? And we were just really honest with each other. And we still are. It's not like we're perfect. Like, we still go back to our 15-year-old self sometimes. We're just like, why did you say that? Oh my gosh. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't approve that by me. Like, what's going on? And we still like revert to that. But every single day, again, it's about like we make mistakes as
Mm.
sister co-CEOs. And every single day we figure out how to just do it a little bit better. And sometimes it's a lot better. And sometimes it's just a little bit better, and so just really figuring that out and like, hey, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What are you good at? What are you good at?
Mm.
And, not making it a competition, because sometimes like with siblings, there's always that sibling rivalry. Like it's just natural, like growing up, like that's what it was. And, I see it in my own kids now. And of course that happens with building a business with your sibling, but it's like noticing it and just being honest and saying, hey, like, we're just acting like, kids right now. Like let's take a step back and let's figure out how to conquer this together. But it's a mutual respect. I respect you not only as my sister, and I don't only love you as my sister, but I respect you as a business owner now. I respect
Mm.
your decision making. I respect your abilities. I respect that you're better at this than I am in, specific areas. And she respects it, the same in certain areas with me. Like we respect each other and love each other. And sometimes we don't like each other in the moment, but we still love each other. And
Yeah.
so like knowing that is okay sometimes, you know what I mean? And taking a step back. But we really, and it was about like not just us doing that work, but it's kind of like you're a better parent for your kids. Well, we're better leaders for our team, like that's what we try to say. Like, so as we brought more and more people on our team, it's like, hey, we have to continue to get this together a little bit more because we have other people that are taking, our lead on this. Like, so.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, clear communication and ownership is essential. And so that you hit that on the head, I think, with finding that success and being willing to be wrong and really appreciate each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Mhm.
Well, this has been absolutely incredible. I cannot wait. Oh my gosh, with how far you've come already, I'm just on the sidelines, so excited to watch and cheer you along. I am just so impressed with what you've been able to build.
Thank you so much. It's so cool. I just have to throw in this little thing. My sister and I, do you know the Salmon Sisters? So they were on Forbes 30 under 30. And when we started, we're like, we want to be on Forbes 30 under 30. And we finally did that. And I'm
So
29 and
cool.
she's
Oh my
27.
gosh.
So we just did that, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago or something like that. So I took my kids to New York with me, my, breastfeeding baby. I was like, hey,
Oh,
like you guys stay in the hotel room. I'm gonna go to this for a couple hours. I'll be right back. But anyways, just kind of celebrating with family and doing that together. And like, people didn't think that that was gonna happen. And we weren't like focused on that, but that was always, like that would be really cool if we could do that. And we did it together. And it's just exciting moments to celebrate with your sister and your family. But
oh my
yeah.
gosh. That is incredible. In fact, that was the email that I got to my inbox was that you had
Yeah.
reached that milestone. And I was just like, yes, get these women on my podcast. That is so incredible. What an incredible feat to
It's
do
fun.
it at such a young age and to do it with your sister. There's
Mhm.
so much about that I love, and that you really are leading with your heart and with an open mind and being very authentic with who you are and your product. Like it's just really exciting to see that.
Well, it's really exciting to be, on this call with you. Thank you so much. We're excited to have the opportunity to do this, and it's been so much fun talking to you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Well, before we get off, I know we talked about this really quick. What I'm trying to do in 2024 is to share as women and as mothers, what are things that we're listening to? It doesn't
Mhm.
have to fit any specific genre, but I would love to hear top 2 or 3 that are things that you're listening to in your commute as you're going back and forth to the farm.
Yes. So it's a 3.5 hour drive, like I was telling you before. So I had the kids strapped in. I actually have like a second to myself, but I love like a good like fiction novel because I love to get out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just listening to Sally Rooney, like the author, any of her books. I've just listened to like 3 of them. I listened to Lessons in Chemistry, which is
Oh, I love
now
that one.
Oh my gosh. I listened to that book. I could not stop listening to it. I would just sit in my car by myself and I would just be like, I need some me time for a second. But I like listening to just real facts too. So I'm listening to Sapiens right now, which is like kind of, what's about humans. Like, hey, what are humans? Because we're animals and we kind of forget that. But I'm also listening to The Killers of the Flower Moon right now, which
Nice.
is really, really cool. And I think it's important. That just came out on some streaming service, one of the like 5 that I
What kind of a book is that?
So it's actually about the Native American tribe, and I can't remember exactly which one that was right now, but they basically, the United States government put them on this land in Oklahoma, and then it struck, rich with the oil, and then it's the and there was just they were getting killed off, like some of the Native
Is that
Americans
the
were
one with
getting
Leonardo DiCaprio? The show that's
I,
just coming out with that?
maybe. I think it might be. It's
Yes.
really cool. Like I'm right in the middle of it. So I actually bought like the actual book like a year ago, but
Mm-hmm.
I have not had time to read it. So I was like, okay, before I watch this, I'm gonna get the audiobook. But yeah, so they're trying to figure out, and it was the conception of the CIA. So because of
Mm.
this and because of these murders, the United States is like, hey, we gotta have someone to take control of things like this. So that's really cool. And it's factual, obviously. So it's a cool book. I mean, the movie is coming out or the show or something. So, but I think books are always a little better. So
Oh, I do too. We have a very strict rule in our house that we read the book before we watch the show. So,
yes, I do too. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I watched I read Where the
Uh-huh.
Crawdads Sang before, and that was so good too.
Yeah.
That's my fiction novels that I just go in off to dreamland and not think about business or, you know, every single act has an effect on my children. So,
Mm.
you know.
Yes. Oh, it's so important to have those times where it's just you. You get to escape with your mind someplace else. And
Mhm.
honestly, I find a lot of times when I take time to fuel that way, whether it's educational or just for fun, it allows you to come back with fresh ideas and even maybe
Mhm.
problem solving or just having a breath of fresh air that isn't consuming with your mind and your business and the to-dos. So, yeah.
100%. Also, I just want to put in a little plug for the Calm app. I don't know if you know that, but like the
Mm-hmm.
meditation, like sleep stories, all that, like, because I have a busy mind at night. Like I'm thinking of
Yes.
all the things that are going on. So I actually I put my 6-year-old, she has her sleep stories that she listens to right before bed. And now I listen to my sleep stories and it just drifts me off. Or I listen to a meditation before bed because my brain just does not stop. So that's been very helpful for me to
Yes.
actually fall asleep.
I can agree with that too. Or sometimes I'll put on Audible and listen to my book, but only
Yeah,
listen for like 10 minutes, put a timer on it. So if you do fall asleep,
which
sometimes
I
it has to be
always do.
30.
Yeah.
Yes. Then you know you didn't go too far down the road.
Yeah.
But I love the Calm app and I love that's actually how I get a lot of my books read is I listen instead of watching a show at night, I listen to a book or something else so
Mhm.
that it allows me to take a step out of my own thoughts and mind and go into a different thought flow, which is
a
super
hundred
helpful.
percent. So you
Yeah.
can actually sleep. So you could be
Yes.
prepared to tackle the next day.
Exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
we're on the same vein. I am like the same thing. If I lay down at night, my mind is like, and I have to put it somewhere else. Yes. So,
Holy
oh my
smokes.
gosh. Well, this has been so fun, Stephanie. Thank you so much. And please tell our audience where they can find you
Mhm.
and online and support you and follow along in this amazing journey?
Yes. So you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Painterland Sisters. Go to painterlandsisters.com. We also still have our WeFunder open until next month. So if you're interested in investing in Painterland Sisters, this is, our first opportunity opening for outside investment. So we are up to 900 and some thousand. Our goal is 1.2 million. And like I said, we're going to close next month. So if you're interested in being a part owner of this crazy journey with us, then please do so.
Amazing. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you found it helpful, please like and subscribe. Any review on this podcast will help us to show more people access and resources to women building businesses that are changing lives, changing the country, and changing families. Thank you so much for your support. And if you are looking for coaching with podcasting, or you're wanting to start your own virtual assistant business so that you too can be at home with your babies and grow a business, reach out to me at camillewalker.co. Hey CEOs, thank you so much for spending your time with me. If you found this episode inspiring or helpful, please let me know in a comment and a 5-star review. You could have the chance of being a featured review on an upcoming episode. Continue the conversation on Instagram at Call Me CEO Podcast. And remember, you are the boss.